Well, I know you've had a ton of experience, obviously working with kids in club and AAU over the years, and there's really three things I want to try to drill down on here. And uh, the first thing that I want to ask you is with the kids that you work with, like why is it better for an AAU player to continue training with you during their season versus them taking a break during their season and then coming back to you after? Like, why is that super important for you?
Well, the reason why that's super important, especially for the player, is because when they're going to play AAU basketball, oftentimes players are going to play in showcases in front of college scouts, and they have various tournaments throughout the spring and summer that are showcase tournaments. The type of training that I provide actually develops the skill sets that students need to have when they go and play in showcase tournaments in front of college scouts. So that's why it's important that they continue to train with me during the AAU season,
Mhm.
because the type of training that I do develops their versatility. It develops them being three-level scorers, high basketball IQ, uh, elite defenders. Those are all the things that college scouts look for in players.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot of repetition to
Mhm.
develop those skill sets. So, in with AAU, typically an AAU team will have maybe two practices a week, and the practices are geared toward game preparation. And so
Mhm.
they have so many players on those AAU teams, or they have multiple teams practicing sometimes at the same time in the gyms. So they don't really have time to zero in on the individual skill development that players need. The
Right.
players that play on a lot of these AAU teams are players who are already high level type players when they get them. You know, they've
Mhm.
already say maybe been through a program like mine or whatever, but they're already high level players, so they don't actually have to spend the time, and quite honestly, don't have the time to provide for them the repetition that they need to develop the proper skill sets.
Right. Because they're just at that point, they're just going to play in games, and when they stop working with you, they can pick up bad habits from their teammates who maybe haven't had the right type of training, and everything that they've learned with you up to that point. It's like they can get it if they come back after their season, but it's just better for them to continue with you and build on those habits while they're playing.
Exactly, exactly.
Got it.
I have my students on what we call individual workout routines. Say, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if they come to me, say two, three times a week, they have a routine individually that they follow 6 days a week. And it's a hour workout that they do apart from the AAU team, apart from what they do with me. And it's designed for players who aspire to play college basketball, aspire to play professional basketball, aspire to excel at a high level at the middle school and high school. So that particular routine is not for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but for the players who have that drive and commitment and determination, uh, they follow those routines, and it allows them to be able to shoot at a high percentage in terms of 3 point percentages. Our goal is 40% or above. Free throw percentages, our goal is 80% or above. And then from the field, our goal is 50% from above or above. Okay, those are the type of percentages that college coaches look for in players.
Mm-hmm.
And then they look for those players to be called what we call three-level scorers, meaning they can shoot the 3 point shot, they can score mid range, and they can also get all the way to the basket and finish.
Got it.
Okay. So their workouts cover those things. So our players are training 4 to 10 times more than the average player in preparation for an AAU game.
Right. And that's how they ultimately stand out in front of the college coaches, because
Exactly.
they're not only training more, they're just way more prepared for the game situation. Well, totally makes sense. And I know a huge problem that I've seen that I would say 100% of basketball coaches that I've dealt with, they ask me about this, and they've struggled with this in the past. People are getting better at this now, but a lot of coaches, they struggle talking to parents that have kids that play AAU like during the season, where it's like the parents will just be like, "Oh, we're too busy, or we don't have time to continue training with you." And if you had to boil it down, like what is your number one tip or method, like when you talk to a parent that has that sort of objection about continuing during the AAU season? Like, how do you try to handle that, and how do you try to direct the parent, like in that sort of conversation, when you know they should continue training with you, but they are using AAU as like, oh, well, we're going to take a break with training. Does that make sense?
Yes. That's really determined in my evaluations, because when we have the evaluation, after the evaluation, we actually discuss what their child is already doing,
Right.
are they playing AAU? What are they currently doing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so during the evaluation, I'm able to assess myself whether or not that player should be playing AAU or not. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have that conversation with the parents right after the evaluation when we sit down. And if they tell me that, their child is playing AAU basketball, and then and I feel like from the evaluation that that particular student shouldn't be playing AAU basketball, or should be training during AAU basketball season, I will explain to that parent at that time, you know, why they shouldn't be playing AAU basketball, or if they are playing AAU basketball, why they need to continue training during AAU basketball season. And
Right.
then I give them examples of my current and past players who are currently training during AAU basketball season and are the best players on the AAU team, and they stand out more at the AAU tournaments and games as a result of training during AAU basketball season. But I also educate the parents on, okay, what college coaches are looking for in players. And then
Mm-hmm.
I clearly explain to them and show them, okay, if their student does not possess those skill sets currently, then they shouldn't be playing AAU basketball at all. They should be focusing on spending more time at developing those skill sets,
Right.
and so that they can become marketable when they do start playing AAU basketball. Now, if they insist on playing AAU basketball, and that student, in my opinion, shouldn't be playing AAU basketball, and they want to train with me but not train in a consistent way, then we just come to an agreement that maybe my program is not the right fit for them.
Right. And that's what I was while you were talking, I was thinking, well, what if you tell a parent that and they still want to do AAU because they think that's the right thing to do because their kids' friends are doing it, or they feel pressure like they need to do it. Um, and you just, this is what I love about your program, is you're directing people on what is best for them. And your program is not going to just cater to every single person, because you want what's best for the player. And it's different with a lot of coaches out there, because like they don't establish that sort of tone with the parent at the beginning, like because this is what I know what happens with most trainers. They get a kid to train with them, and then AAU season happens like 4 months later, and then the parent 4 months later tells the coach, "Hey,
Yeah.
AAU's coming up. We're going to need to take a break." And then by then it's too late. The coach can't have that conversation, but you do it just at the very beginning, and I
Yes.
feel like that really protects you, and it also shows the parent uh, what's expected of them if they're going to join your program, and what I mean how good is that too for the parent? Like if their kid isn't good enough to do AAU, like they're going to save so much time and money not
Yep.
doing AAU, uh, and just it's also going to make their kid not look good if they do AAU and they're not ready to do it. That can hurt their
It,
chance of getting a scholarship.
exactly. It just not only hurt their chance of getting a scholarship, but it also hurts their development because when you're just spending time playing in a bunch of tournaments and you're not focusing on the skills that you need to be developing, all you're doing is going out and constantly insinuating your bad habits
Yeah,
over and over again. And so that's the reason why in those situations I know that I can't help the kid in that situation. And I know that I mean some trainers will take players like that regardless, for financial reasons and that
right,
type of thing. And I understand that to a certain extent. But with me, because I have a track record of success with the players who train with me during
mhm,
AAU season, of the results that they get, and I get referrals as a result of their success. And so my clientele continues to be built on the fact that the players who train with me during AAU season, they tend to be, if not the best players on their AAU teams, they're part of the top three of the best players on the AAU team. And they're the players who are getting signed for scholarships.
right,
The reason why all of this is so critical right now, Ben, is because with the transfer portal,
hmm,
less and less college coaches are signing players out of high school
yeah,
at the D1 level. Okay. And the reason for that is because at the D1 level, there's so much money involved now in winning.
mm,
You have name, likeness, and image a lot, that's going up. Players are getting $2-3 million now.
right. It's great.
Yes, yes, they're getting $2-3 million now um, in the transfer portals when they're transferring to the top D1 teams. So if a college is going to sign a player out of high school, then that player has to be prepared to come in and have an impact on winning right away.
Right,
And so the players that have already signed with colleges out of high school in my program for this season, that's exactly what the college coaches have said, that
hmm,
those players are prepared now to come in and have an impact right away as a result of the training that they got out of my program, because we follow basically a college regiment, while they're in high school, the 4 years while they're in high school. So during the time that they're in high school, they're already acclimated to the way that college players train
right,
12 months out of a year in my program.
right. Yeah, so they're not getting to college feeling completely overwhelmed by the demand like how most kids do.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And on your end, because really what you're doing is you're consulting and advising the parent on AAU before they really step into your program. Um, but have you seen just over the years of you doing this, like the kids that end up playing AAU while they're training with you, how are you, I guess, how are you managing that as far as scheduling with the parents? Because I remember you told me about some of the different stuff you've done in the summers and stuff like that,
Mhm.
but strategically, like how do you get a player that's committed to AAU to continue to train with you during the season? Like how are you scheduling that out?
Well, I offer 2-hour group sessions on Sunday afternoons, Monday evenings, Tuesday evenings, Thursday evenings, and then I have some individual one-on-one workout on Friday evenings. So, and then I do stuff on Saturday morning if needed. So with AAU teams, most of them practice 2 days a week. Okay, so if they practice on Tuesday, Thursday, for example, the AAU players that I have now, they come to me on Monday, Friday, and when they're not playing tournaments, they'll come like on Sunday. So they'll come 3 times a week.
Right,
Uh, why? Because they only practice twice a week. I offer them maybe 5 different opportunities during the week to come to me.
right.
So there's enough flexibility there to where they
Mhm.
can still come to me and do their AAU practices.
Right. And that's huge because I know one of the problems that some coaches have when they work with kids that play at AAU is they don't have their schedule set up to where like they have options. And so, for example, if a trainer's running Tuesday, Thursday sessions only and AAU starts and they have Tuesday, Thursday practice, that player's gone. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing that the parents can do, no matter how committed they are, to still come and train. So you have multiple options that people can come to. Um, and I'm curious with the kids, because I know this is another common objection I've heard from coaches that deal with parents, but with the kids that are doing AAU and they're doing your program at the same time, uh, how do you how do you make sure that those kids aren't getting burned out?
Well, you teach them time management.
Mm,
Okay. And so whenever you decide to be, say, a high level athlete, then your schedule is going to be more demanding. Okay. And so what not only do I teach my students this, but I have this outline in a book that I wrote, and then I also um, go over them, go over with them, how to schedule their days and their times to where um, there's time in there to where they allow time for a social life uh, as well. For example, when if they come to me, like I have some of my AAU students come to me like on Mondays right now, on Tuesdays, the ones who don't practice on Tuesdays, and some come for one-on-one sessions on Fridays right now. Okay. And so on the one-on-one sessions, they only come for an hour.
hmm
Okay. So if they have a social event plan or something like that, instead of them on a Friday evening, instead of them coming on a Friday evening, they'll come Saturday morning.
Got it.
Okay. Or vice versa, because we always talk about the one thing that I talk about, especially with my students who are like 7th grade and 8th grade, but are have really progressed because they've been with me for a number of years, like since 1st grade and 3rd grade, and they're already high level players and high demand by AAU teams, and on track to be Division I college basketball players and that type of thing. I always stress to those parents the importance of allowing them to be kids, you
Yeah.
know, and that type of thing. So even doing my sessions, when we're going through the sessions, sometimes parents will see as our kids are going through warm ups and they're getting ready to start and stuff like that, um, because they're grouped with other kids with the same type of goals that they have and everything like that, and they all become really good friends. And
Yeah.
so So in the beginning, I give them time to socialize and that type of thing. And so sometimes people and sometimes even parents will wonder, they say, until they've been in the program a while, then they get it. They'll wonder, well, why you let them do so much joking around at the beginning, and that type of thing. And I'll tell them they're only kids, and
Right.
they need to be able to socialize with each other, to laugh and talk and have fun. I
Yeah.
said, because because they sacrifice so much of their time,
Hmm.
so, in other places. So I said, when they come to me in the beginning, I allow them time to do that. And then they know once we go into the training, everything is pretty focused. So ours is pretty balanced,
Hmm.
and that type of thing. And I encourage parents to make sure that the kids who train with me have a social life and that they can be kids. And so we offer a flexible enough schedule for them to be able to do that. I have one girl that comes to me on Fridays for one-on-one. Well, oftentimes her mom will call me and say, well, she's been invited to a party. Can we do it tomorrow instead of today? And I said, sure. She needs to go to that party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool because I know a lot of coaches out there, their ego can get in the way of making decisions like that, where they will want their training to be the most important thing in the kid's life, and they will not look at it with that perspective. And I feel like while you're saying that, I'm like, man, like I had a pretty different perspective than you do when I was coaching kids. And of course, I wanted them to have a social life, but I think the way I ran my sessions were like the kids would get to know each other and be friends, but I was very militant from start to finish, from when people would show up until they were gone. I ran it a very tight ship, but it's cool to hear your perspective because um, I think from a business standpoint too, when kids are tighter and better friends and they like being around each other,
Yeah.
they're gonna enjoy the training more being with their friends versus being so individual. Um,
Exactly. I play music during most of my training sessions, and it's uplifting, upbeat music. Sometimes
right,
low in the background, but it's doing. And the parents, they come in and they love it because they're like, it's such an uplifting environment,
right.
and it motivates the kids during the sessions, and that type of thing as well. So.
That's really cool. And last question I have is if there's a coach out there that's watching this that has really struggled keeping clients that play AAU like during the season in their program, like maybe the last couple of years they have this downturn in their business when AAU starts. They lose clients because parents think they're too busy or the kids do that and they don't want to train at the same time. Like what is like one small step, something really simple that a coach can take away from your process that can help them just have a more consistent type of business during the AAU season?
But you've got to be able to show parents that what you offer in your training brings the type of value that makes it worth them coming during AAU season. For example, my players do what we call a day before game workout. If they have a game for AAU game the next day, uh, they have a day before game workout that they do. They have a game day workout that they do, not with me, but it's a workout that I've designed for them
Mm-hmm.
that they do in preparation. So what parents have seen is when those players do their day before game workout, their early morning game day workout, they perform at a consistently high level in all of their games. And it makes them stand out. And
Mm-hmm.
so now the parents see, okay, it's worth it for us not only to come to him for training during AAU season, but the other things that he give the players to do. in preparation for the AAU games, it separates my child from other kids in the games and makes them stand out more. So parents
Right.
now they put enough value on coming during AAU season. That's vitally important because if what the coaches are providing, if the parents don't see value in it, then they don't think it's worth them coming during AAU season. But they've got to see the value and the results, and that's what my parents see. They
Yeah.
see the value of coming.
You're right. Yeah. And I think too often parents or coaches don't give parents good enough reasons to stay. And it's little things like that. And doing like the example, the training session the day before the game, if a parent comes on a Friday and they bring their kid to that, and then Saturday they go watch the game and they're like, wow, like my kid is getting better. Like they can physically see it with their own eyeballs that your program is really valuable because like they did the thing to prepare themselves the night before and then they do the game day workout. It's like those are things that at the end of the day can really separate someone in this industry and keep clients year round. And I know that's a huge struggle for a lot of coaches in this industry is they get clients and they get a lot of clients that play AAU, but when those kids get too busy, they lose those clients and then they have to go find a bunch of new clients to replace them. And if they don't find new clients, then their income just goes like this for 3, 4 months. And that's not fair to the coaches that do this as a living. They should just retain those customers. Awesome, man. Well, you've shared so much good information on here, and I know if anyone wants to reach out to you, we're going to put your phone number below here,
Sure.
and anyone wants to set up a call with you, guys, just go to the link in the description and set up a call with Coach Brown, and we'll have more interviews like this coming up. And if you want to hear more interviews from Coach Brown, go to the playlist on our channel, and you can see the different interviews that we have together. So thanks so much, man.
No problem.
Right.